Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President and CEO TripAdvisor, Steve Kaufer, in discussion with Skift founder and CEO, Rafat Ali.
It was so cool, awesome. When I came in here the first time, I couldn't believe it. I thought I was dreaming. I'm not in the US. I'm dreaming.
You know, they've gone through a lot in order to build their new life here in the United States. They have a place here.
To be with friends and to learn about immigrants, Ellis Island was a beautiful place.
I think that it was such an important experience for them to learn about the history of this country that they're now a part of.
It's my first time on boat and it's so pissed. Like the waves, I think they are smiling at us. I think they're happy because we are being here.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
What you saw here was a video that of a trip that TripAdvisor did with refugee kids who are now here in the US, and they went to Ellis Island, and this was, I think, one of the first times that they were there, and they obviously didn't come through Ellis Island. They came through, obviously, the air routes or et cetera, other places, and to learn the history of immigration in the US, for them to feel their place in the US and the history that it had.
And we wanted everyone to feel welcome.
And so the conversation that we're going to have is different than, so Steve, this is your third year in running at the Global Forum, I think third or fourth year. Every year we talk about TripAdvisor, the business. We're not going to talk about that.
Ready.
We're going to talk about the conscious CEO. So how many of you know or have been following the Business Roundtable announcement about shareholder versus stakeholder capitalism? And I don't know if you know the context of what that is. Business Roundtable is one of the large lobbying organizations in the business world, has been around for a long time. Shareholder capitalism, which is how public companies have been run, I think for the last 30, 40, 50 years. They came out with a signed signature of 150 some CEOs, biggest CEOs in the US last month, to say that the shareholder-led version of capitalism in the US is increasingly the wrong way to go. And stakeholders, which means your employees, the communities you exist in, other stakeholders, et cetera, are the primary responsibility of a company and of a CEO. So that is the context of which we're going to sort of talk about, a 360 view of the conscious CEO. I wanted you specifically to talk about it because you've been very conscious, 20 years of TripAdvisor as a brand. You have been outspoken about a lot of issues in the world that normally you would assume would not cross a public company CEO's table, if you will. And so that's what we're going to dig into. So why is the refugee thing so personal for you? You wrote op-ed, I think, in the Washington Post, or I think it was Fortune maybe, recently about that as well.
Yeah. To that Business Roundtable conversation, stakeholders versus shareholders, I think a lot of CEOs over many, many years have been evolving, and some taking a real leadership effort to understand that in order to grow a great company, it isn't just the financial shareholder that matters. You've got to build up a great employee base. You've got to do what's right in your industry, and you want to present a company, especially for the millennial and other crowd, that will admire for what the company does, not just the products that it produces. So it's very new that the Business Roundtable kind of signed off on that. That was a big change, amen. But there was actually a lot of goings on beforehand that was leading up to that by a lot of CEOs. To your question of why the refugee crisis for me, I just felt like, and TripAdvisor felt that there tend to be some defining moments in anyone's, in a life, in a company's life. And when you look back at how immigrants have built this country, when you look back at how shameful some behaviors of some countries, including the US, has been at some time, and then you think, all right, how did I want to feel, how did I want TripAdvisor to be perceived when there came this crisis of our times, the millions and millions of displaced people not fleeing because they just want a better opportunity, they're fleeing for their lives. And was TripAdvisor just going to sit on the sideline? Was I personally just going to say, yeah, not really my problem, or could we help? And it's not a political issue to us. It's a humanitarian issue. It's doing the right thing and standing up and being counted. So yes, the TripAdvisor Charitable Foundation stepped in. Yes, we did programs, in each of our businesses that could really help the refugees. And yes, I try to use my voice where possible to encourage others, other companies, other individuals, to also step up to this very real need that still exists.
And from the intersection with the travel industry, so immigrants meets travel industry, what do you think is travel industry's responsibility, whether it's TripAdvisor or hospitality companies, for instance, hiring them, et cetera, et cetera? What do you think is the responsibility of the travel industry?
I mean, I think of industry in general, what can be done, and then I think hospitality in particular, and Marriott and some others have had some impressive programs, Hospitality Link, where you can actually help folks that don't have a lot of very natural skill sets from what they were doing into entry-level positions to be integrated into their new homes for at least the time period before they can go back to their homeland. When you look at what us as a tech and travel company could do, hey, we were able to put some engineers against Maps product to help people find the resources. Happened to be in our sort of Power Alley skill set, so we could contribute in ways that were very relevant to the people in need.
Let's talk about Travelist, this new initiative. How many of you, I don't know if you heard, the Prince Harry of UK came out with this initiative, Travelist, which by the way sounds like a failed trip planning startup name. I don't know why they went with that one. But that's not your fault. You and your competitors, Glenn is going to be here on stage later as well. They're part of this initiative, Travelist Initiative. It was announced last month. I think people are a little short on the details of it.
Yeah.
What does it look like from your perspective?
Sure, and it's our collaborators. It's an initiative that we really hope to have a meaningful impact for a long, long time. So it's TripAdvisor, C-Trip, Booking Holdings, Skyscanner, Visa, and we welcome more and more to join in. And the notion is, while each of our companies have already put muscle behind sustainable travel in our own way, and we recognize that many other companies have done similar things, what can we do together? And when you add up the actual number of travelers coming to these sites, and again, we hope to get many more involved very tangibly, it's a great opportunity to teach all of the travelers we have coming to our respective sites of some things to be looking for in sustainable travel, helping hotel companies figure out where they want to build, where we wish to develop tourism in general, for the benefit of travel, for the benefit of sustainable travel, because we all want our kids to be able to experience the same things that we are able to do, and it's not just our kids, it's the grandkids and forward. And the realization, and I give certainly credit to Prince Harry for leading the work and kind of bringing the companies together, is to say together we can actually do a bunch more. If you say, well, light on specifics, I'm like, yeah, we're still figuring out the different ways to tackle the various problems because, as you've mentioned many times already today, there's so many different opportunities, and if there's now a forum, Travelist, then we might be able to make some faster progress.
So let's dig a little bit deeper. So if we were sitting here 2 years ago talking about the tech backlash that has happened over the last 2 years, such that now we call tech big tech as a slur, the issues that are coming up in the travel industry still very early, over tourism, flight shaming. These are some of the sort of nascent things that are emerging in this industry. We've talked about it a few times here as well. 2 years from now, if we're sitting here and saying big travel, how do we avoid that as an industry?
I'd offer an opinion that it's a two-sided one. Travel is such a compelling way to bring the world together, to bring, and I'm preaching to the choir here, I know, but when you experience another culture, when you meet folks from other parts of the world, when you see how they live, it's hard to have that it's hard to have that hate. And so as you bring the world together, people love to travel as it is. So I don't think there's going to be that kind of big travel as a slur. I think there should be an eye towards, hey, how do I do this in a more sustainable manner? And if that happens to bring a little pressure on all of us to be doing a better job, that's a good thing. For us to be getting ahead of it, as some of us, yourself, this forum, are trying to do, that's an even better thing because it avoids the whole downside. It avoids any of the shaming to begin with.
Let's pick up a little bit on one of those things. So animal tourism is a thing where you have taken a lead on and stopped selling. You own Viator, one of the largest operators of tour, one of the largest platforms to sell tours in the world. What is your current policy on anything related to animals?
Yeah, so we won't sell tickets to attractions that keep non-domesticated animals as part of that attraction, as part of that ticketed event. It's inhumane. You're invited to go see animals in their wildlife, but we just felt it was wrong, and so we're happy to take the lead and not encourage that. Those establishments are still listed on our site. People can get educated, and the folks that don't understand the harm that can cause these is caused to these animals by some of the trafficking, they have an opportunity to learn on TripAdvisor what that's about, and now be educated that not only shouldn't they buy it on TripAdvisor, they can't, but they shouldn't go somewhere else and buy it. They should do something more friendly.
You came out with a report yesterday. You announced the transparency report on your reviews. You cleaned up the platform a little bit. That's your big initiative. Platforms in general, you've been a platform for years now, before even platforms became a word that people talk about now. Your responsibility as a company to clean up the platform such that it doesn't affect local businesses the wrong way. Right. What is your responsibility? Because you could just turn and say, we're just a platform.
Oh, sure, but I mean, we never have. I don't even view it as cleaning up. This is our opportunity to be more transparent with all the incredible amount of hard work we've put in over the years. So we have a marketplace. We have travelers coming to us for trusted advice, and they get that in spades. Businesses, small and large, get to announce everything to match to that traveler, to be the perfect in-destination experience for a hotel, a restaurant, dining activity, whatever it might be. Ensuring that those reviews are honest, genuine, is something we've taken to heart from day one. Ensuring that the owners get a chance to respond to something where they don't feel they were properly understood, or it was a great bit of criticism and they've corrected it. That's just part of doing well in business, helping both sides, helping the business owner succeed, helping the customer get what they want. We took some stuff by virtue of a bunch of our algorithms for great reasons, are proprietary in terms of how we detect this. And so we went out with the transparency report and said, look, for all people who say there's too much inaccurate information, actually it's not. Here are the numbers. Here's how much fraud we detect. Here's how much great stuff is coming through. Here's how much our community helps, just to try to put to bed the criticism that the stuff isn't accurate, and to set the example for all the other platform players, for all the other folks looking to build something like we have, that it takes a lot of hard work, but it makes sense. We've built a great business, and in part because we put this much work into keeping the platform secure.
Let me ask this last question. I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you think CEOs in general are overpaid in
Yes.
America? And what can be done about it?
I mean, it is, it's a little crazy when you look at the pay gaps. I think the transparency efforts that are underway may be helping a little bit. I'm not sure. When you talk about responsibilities I feel I have to the travel industry, to businesses, to consumers, this isn't an issue I'm working hard on.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you all.